Well, good afternoon, and thank you for joining me on this replay of the 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth. Yes, I said replay because that is exactly what it is. I have to be totally honest and transparent with you. Yesterday, I thought things were going pretty well, and when I got to the end of the day and I started to look for the recording, it wasn't there. Apparently, I did not click the record button. So as an encore to that, I am here today to share the 15 invaluable laws of growth with you. And I'm going to be sharing two laws with you, two of John Maxwell's important laws. Now, the 15 laws of invaluable growth is one of my favorite books by John. Now, John's written over 100 books, and my top three books are the 15 invaluable laws of growth, 21 irrefutable laws of leadership, and becoming a person of influence. And I've used all three of those books over the years. And those books teach me the greatest lessons. And today I'm going to be sharing two lessons from John Maxwell's 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth. I'll be sharing about the law of pain. Okay, Jim, why are you sharing about the law of pain? Who cares about pain? We don't want to talk about pain, but you'll understand more as I get into the lesson. And the law of the rubber band, one of my favorite lessons in the whole John Maxwell principles of leadership, plethora of information that he has. That is one of my all-time favorites, and you'll understand why when I share more about it. So again, I'm glad you're rewatching the video because you're going to see some things differently. You're going to hear some things differently, but you're going to get the message that I shared yesterday, and you'll get the same value that I shared yesterday in my presentation. And I hope you will forgive me for that blunder. And as we talk about the law of the pain, you know, those of you who saw yesterday, you're going to say, okay, Jim, we get your law of the pain, because I experienced pain yesterday when I realized that I had failed to hit the record button. But that's okay. We're here today and we're going to share. So let's get right into it. So like I said, I'm going to be sharing the two laws from John's book today. The law of the pain, which says good management of bad experiences leads to great growth. And as I read that, I have to think and share about what my passion is, because my passion is about growth. My passion is about helping others reach their highest level of potential, to go on that journey that takes them to a new level, to do the things that they know they need to do. And when they get to the place that they want to be, they'll be able to look back and tell themselves at a younger age, thank you for doing that. Thank you for taking those painful experiences and using them to grow. The second thing that we're going to talk about today is the law of the rubber band. Now, if we were in a live event where we were all together, each of you would receive a rubber band from me that we would use as a demonstration later on, and we'll talk through that a little bit. But the law of the rubber band says growing to your fullest potential requires stretching out of your comfort zone. And I know we have all heard, and everybody talks about, that we have to get out of our comfort zone. And that is fact. If we remain in our comfort zone, we're going to get what we've always gotten. You know, if you're looking to grow, then you got to do something different. And I'll speak to that as we get into the lesson a little deeper. So let's dive into the law of the pain. You know, yesterday, as I was recording this, man, I was really fired up. I knew I was doing everything right. And I never thought that that day that I would be experiencing pain at the end of the day. But I had to figure out, what am I going to do? How am I going to manage this? I could have been really angry at myself, but I didn't get angry. I just laughed it off. And I said, I can't believe that. because Dale and I were sitting here talking. He said, yeah, I really need to get the recording out because that was really good. And it dawned on us. I said, did you hit the record button? And she said, no. I said, neither did I. We just laughed it and said, oh my gosh, I can't believe that. But good management of bad experiences leads to great growth. So how did I grow from that? Well, I don't know yet, but I do know one thing, that it helped me realize that I need to be very, very detailed in my preparation. And that's something that's hard for me to do. But at the end of the day, I was able to get through it and say, hey, I'll just re-record it. I love this material. I don't mind doing it over and over and over and again because it adds so much value to those who get the opportunity to hear it. It's not about me. Hey, listen, I don't do this to impress you. I do it to impress upon you the importance of growth. In our experiences, bad or good, especially bad, help us grow on our journey. But we have to manage them effectively. And so let's take a look at that. How do we manage our bad experiences? What kind of bad experiences do you have to deal with? Well, here's some things we can share. You know, everybody, every one of us has had bad experiences. None of us is exempt. Pain is unavoidable. And I love the quote by John McDowell. It says, every problem introduces a person to himself. So you have to ask yourself, well, what does that mean? Every problem introduces a person to himself. Well, yesterday I learned that I could have responded to my failure or my bad experience, and I could have responded by getting really angry, which in the past I may have done that. But because I have experienced some pain similar to that in my past, and I knew that I could overcome it, then I realized, hey, wait a minute, I'm not that same person. I'm learning about myself. I'm learning how I can better manage those difficult situations. And so today I'm dealing with it. And so we learn about ourselves. We introduce ourselves to who we are and what we've become thus far on this journey. So all of us have to figure out who we are. And I'm going to tell you why that's important. You know, I can tell you why. You know, the thing that I did yesterday is when we were talking about the pain, I asked the simple question. I said, okay, how many of you have experienced pain? And, you know, I said, how many of you enjoy pain? I think is really what I said. And nobody raised their hands. I said, well, how many of you kind of sort of like pain? And still nobody raised their hands. But then I said, how many of you dislike pain altogether? And all of us raised our hands because none of us like pain, but it's unavoidable. We're going to experience it. And so I'm going to share just a few things about pain, some pains that we have to deal with, and some of the things that we can do to overcome them. So the pain of incompetence, you know, have you ever been in that situation where you just wish you had known better, that you'd known something that you didn't know, or you should have seen what was coming? You should have had some foreknowledge of what was going to happen, but you didn't. You know, wouldn't it have been great if we'd known ahead of time that the pandemic was coming and we could prepared months and weeks and years ahead of that? But we didn't. But we should have known. You know, we could have known. And I'm sure there are other situations in your life where you've had that same type of situation where it's painful when something happens that you feel like you should have been prepared for and you weren't. I know I've been there a dozen times. I've been there, especially in my journey as an HR director in an agency where I was dealing with people every day, and they would come in for whatever reason and say, hey, Jim, I'm leaving. Wait a minute. Why? Why wasn't I prepared for this? Why didn't I know this? Why didn't I know about this? It's painful, but we can overcome that through growth. Another one is the pain of financial loss. Now, I don't know about you, but that's probably one of the biggest losses for me is when I lose money or I lose some financial status in my journey that it just causes great pain for me. I don't know whether it's because I'm very particular about how I spend my money and how I budget. But I mean, I tell a story, it's the truth. I remember when I was a younger man and my dad would give us his adult children, which I was one of his adult children. I may still be one of his only adult children. I have some sisters, but they're, you know, you never know. Anyway, but he would give us $100 bill for Christmas every year. And I was being very careful. I would put my spending money in my money clip in one pocket, and I would put my private money in another pocket to make sure I didn't get it mixed up. And so my wife and the kids and I all decided, okay, it's Christmas time, great movies at the theater. So we said, let's go to the movie. So we go to the movie. I get everybody in and we all get seated, and I go out to get the popcorn and the drinks, and I get in line and I pay for my food, and I get back to the seats and we all watch the movie and everything was great. And then I get home and I reach in my pocket and my $100 bill's gone. I'm devastated. I'm in great pain. I've just lost $100 bills. You know, $100 today is not that much, but $100 15, 20 years ago, to me, was a lot of money. And not being able to figure out what I did with it and where it went, I knew I'd lost it. First of all, I had poorly managed where I kept my money in my pockets, and I had pulled that money out somewhere and it fell out, and somebody got them $100 that day. But the pain of financial loss, there are greater and more significant financial losses that you and I have experienced other than $100, but it causes great pain. If I could only get that back, but we're never going to get it back. So what do? We use that as a lesson to help us grow and not make those same mistakes in the future. Another one is the pain of not being number one. Now, you know, I've never been one who was seeking to be number one in the terms of being number one, but I have sought positions in my journey that would put me at the top of the ladder. When I would grow to the next level of leadership, and on that journey, there were many times when I was not selected for the position that I had applied for. And it devastated me in a couple of cases, and I just couldn't understand why. And fortunately, I had a great mentor back then who took me aside and mentored me through a process that helped me get better on my journey. But the pain of not reaching a certain level can be devastating. But we learn from that. I learned from my journey, and I ended up reaching the pinnacle of my career field. I was the top of the heap. I was at the top of the mountain. As Maslow's hierarchy of needs, self-actualization, I reached the top when I reached the chief of recruiting operation for the Air National Guard. But the pain that I experienced on that journey and the lessons I learned helped me get to that position and succeed there. And of course, the last one that's on this page, it says the pain of change. I don't know anybody out there who enjoys change. Well, I know some people who enjoy changing their clothes and they want to put on new clothes every day. You know, and that's a different kind of change. But the kind of change we're talking about are things that are significant in our lives. Things that make it hard for us, things that make it difficult for us to move in a positive direction. But sometimes change is the best thing for us. You know, I love what they say, that if you keep on doing what you've always done, you get what you've always gotten. So somewhere in there, you've got to make some changes if you want to get further along on your journey. Change can be disruptive in all of our lives. You know, Dale and I moved from Columbia, South Carolina to Washington, D.C. to take a new job. That change was huge for us. We were South Carolina homebodies. We had no desire or no plans of ever leaving to go somewhere else, but the opportunity came along. And that change, while necessary and worthwhile, created a lot of pain for us because we left a lot of things in South Carolina to go to Washington, D.C. But at the end of the day, it was the best thing that ever happened to us in our growth, in becoming our best versions. The pain of change is so difficult at times, but so necessary for us to grow. So we can ask ourselves this question: are we going to become bitter, or are we going to come better from the pain and the experiences that we have in our journey? You know, I know that there have been things that happened to me over my lifetime that yeah, I was bitter about. And I held on to that bitterness for a long time. But you know what that did? All that did was hold me back. So I've chosen, when things happen to me that are bad, I look to get better from it. When things don't go the way I want them to go, I work on figuring out what I can do to become better from that experience. It's my choice. It's your choice. You know, you can't make me do it, and I can't make you do it. It's all about the choices that we make. So the goal is to turn that pain into gain and to develop a positive life stance. Well, when we talk about a positive life stance, and I'm going to read this to you, it says a life stance is a term used to describe people's frame of reference, set of attitudes, assumptions, and expectations. So if we choose a positive life stance, then we're going to choose to live something better than someone who says, I'm just going to be negative about this forever. Now, everybody knows a negaholic out there. Everybody knows someone that's like that. But we have a choice. We can choose to grow from it, or we can choose to allow it to destroy us. And of course, you all want to grow. If you're on this call today, if you're watching this replay today, then you know that you are on a path to grow and become your best version. And hey, that's what Jim Hatchell wants for you. That's why I do what I do. That's why I am as passionate about what I do. You know, I gain, maybe I get some recognition, maybe I get some reward for what I do. But the biggest reward comes when somebody tells me, hey, you remember when you said, if you keep on doing what you've always done, you're going to get what you've always gotten. I use that in my life, and it changed my whole trajectory. And today I am a lead recruiter for a government contractor in DC. This guy was one of my very early on young recruiters who took a message that I shared with him and used it to transform his whole journey into something positive. That's what excites me, is to see someone else use what I shared to help them succeed. Another way that we can gain from pain is to embrace the value of bad experiences. You know, bad experiences give us opportunity to learn, to do something different. You know what Einstein said about uh, doing things over and over again and expecting something different? That's the sign of insanity. But if we embrace bad experiences and we use it to do something different, to change the way we're doing something, to move forward, then that bad experience maybe wasn't so bad. Maybe the benefit and the dividends that we receive from that bad experience take us to a new level. So we have to sometimes embrace those bad experiences and especially find the value in those experiences. And we have to make the right changes, make good changes. You know, there's sometimes we make changes that don't necessarily get us what we're wanting. So we have to think through the changes that we need to make and make those changes. You know, it's not what you do in a day, it's what you do every day. So as you go through your days, you need to think about, okay, what do I need to change today? What am I doing today that I need to stop doing? And what is something I'm not doing today that I need to start doing? What kind of changes do I need to make to get from where I am to where I want to be? It's about change, and our ability to make change is going to help us on our growth. So and not on here, but I wanted to share it because I think it's so important, is that it is totally your responsibility. We have to decide. I can't decide for you. You have to decide for you. You can't decide for me. I have to decide for me. I have to take full responsibility on how I'm going to grow from my pain, from my bad experiences. And I can promise you that I have a stack of them that I have learned from and grown through to become my best version. Hey, I'm not there yet. I'm still on the journey, but I'm going, and I am on the journey, and I can plan to continue to be on that journey for a long, long time. So how do we apply this law in our life? So we ask the following questions. How do you feel about pain? Love it, like it, hate it? I'm going to grow from it. Don't like it, but I'm going to use it for my growth. Do you avoid it at all costs, or do you endure? I'm going to endure, because if I try to avoid it, then that means that I'm stuck in that comfort zone where nothing is going to change and I will always be comfortable and safe. Do you embrace the pain and stay positive? Hey, bought a new washer and dryer a couple weeks ago. Everything's working great. They are so smart. I'm just, you know, they're not quite smart enough to get the laundry and put it in there by themselves yet. But you know what? The dryer is so smart. It was sensing that the airflow from the vent going outside was too low and it would shut off. I said, well, dang, I got a brand new dryer here that I can't even dry my clothes in because it won't push the air through the vent going outside. So we got the vent cleaner and we cleaned it out and still didn't work. So we did some more things and finally, we figured it out. It had separated and it was being blocked by a big old cloud of dust and dirt that was in the vent. And so we finally got the vent cleaner through it and got it cleaned out, and the doggone thing works perfectly. You know, I stuck with it. I embraced that pain and I stayed positive, and I did not give up and let it take me down. In fact, it just gave me more energy and excitement about trying to go out and get it done. Embrace the pain and stay positive. And as we start moving forward, you know, here's what we need to do. We can get input from others. And one of the greatest ways to get input from others is through a mastermind group. Now, I lead mastermind groups all the time, and I just finished leading one with a group of folks, and it was fantastic. We had 9 people in there, and we shared great information. It's different than me teaching you on a webinar. When we're in a mastermind, we're getting input from each other. We share each other's experiences, and we take that information and we use it to help us grow ourselves. Another thing that we can do moving forward is understanding our emotions. Why do you respond to the way the waiter came to the table and asked you what you wanted? Why do you respond to the way the individual on the phone who is handling the customer service responded to you? Why do you respond that way? Why do you get angry? What causes you to cry? We need to understand our emotions. And I can tell you, it was one of the most important things that I've ever done in my journey is to learn and understand my emotions. Because I can tell you that some of the greatest pain I experienced in my journey has been the lack of control and understanding of my emotions. To get angry about things that I didn't need to get angry about. And fortunately, I had a great mentor who helped me on this journey when I didn't get one of those jobs. And he sat me down and he shared, here's why you didn't get this position. But if you want to succeed, you need to do this, this, and this. You need to understand why you respond the way you respond to certain situations. Not to blow up and get angry, but to stop and think and figure out what's going on. So there are hundreds of books out there about understanding emotional intelligence. And I'm not going to recommend one today, but I can tell you that it's the greatest investment that I have made on my journey. And one of the things that I did some years back was I got involved in a program in my church called Stephen Ministry. It was a 50-hour training where I learned about how to effectively connect and communicate with people. But before I could learn all that, I had to learn about me and how to connect with me and understand my emotions. It was a huge change for me in my life. It was one of those aha moments that made a huge difference in every aspect of my life to understand my emotions. And when we can understand how we respond to things and why we respond the way we do, it's going to make a huge difference. It'll make a difference in how you deal with pain. We have to identify the specific changes you want to have. What is it you want to change? If you can't be specific, you got to be real specific. I don't mean generalize. I mean, you got to nail it down to, hey, I want to start doing something today. I want to start sending cards to all of my members today. I want to send cards to all my clients today. You got to be specific about the changes you want to make. I want to respond differently when people say things to me that upset me. I don't want to allow that emotion to take over my being. I want to be able to respond differently. I need to make those changes. And most importantly, is that if we are going to grow, it's going to take action. ACT is what I like to talk about. Act. Action creates things. When we take steps forward, when we do the things we need to do, we generate momentum. And when we create momentum, things move forward in a positive way. And as you think about that, as you think about the things that you need to grow, to take your personal growth to the next level, what does that mean to you? What are you going to be looking at? And this is a great, great, great way to segue into one of my favorite lessons that we're going to talk about. And I'm going to jump right into that as we talk about the law of the rubber band. Because the law of the rubber band is very simple. It says growth stops when you lose tension between where you are and where you could be. You know, you've got a vision about where you want to be, but you stop taking action. So you lose that tension, that traction to get there. You know, a rubber band is a great analogy for that, because a rubber band is useless until it is stretched, until it is put around something to hold it together. You know, I love rubber bands. I play with them all the time. You know, I remember as a kid getting in trouble with rubber bands, but today I'm talking about a rubber band that can be used in a positive way. I'm talking about using it to stretch yourself, to remind you to stretch yourself every day. I put one on my wrist. I don't have one right now, but I usually have one on my wrist, and I use it to remind me that I need to stretch every day. And you can do the same thing. But here's the thing we know about stretching. There are very few people out there in this world who want to be stretched. And you've already heard me say it. You know why? It's because they want to sit back and enjoy the comfort zone. Oh, that's the Twilight Zone. The comfort zone is just as bad, because nothing's going to happen in the comfort zone, and in the Twilight Zone, you never know what's going to happen. But you have to stretch yourself. You have to be willing to take steps to move forward and stretch. What does stretching mean? Stretching means that you read the books, you listen to the podcast, you watch Jim Hatchell on YouTube and on Zoom share messages about growth and becoming your best version. But you stretch yourself by taking action. And every time you stretch a little bit, you never go back to where you were, because you've grown, you've become better, you become smarter, you become better at whatever it is that you're trying to become. Your growth. Stretch yourself. Don't be the 97%, be the 3% who want to see themselves become their best versions. Avoid settling for the status quo. I mean, status quo, the average, yeah, the top of the bottom of the top. You know, where is that? I mean, that's nowhere. Who wants to be status quo? I'm just right there. I'm average. I'm just an average old guy. You know, think about it. I mean, I remember back in school when we used to talk about making 80s on our papers, and that was average. And that was great. But with just 20% more, 20% more effort, we could have stretched ourselves to become world class, far above average. And if you're satisfied with the status quo and being average, then don't expect any growth in your journey, because you've reached it. You're where you're going to be. You got to stretch yourself to get out of that status quo mentality, to get out of that comfort zone mentality. And I promise you this, I can sit here and I can rant and I can rave and I can be excited and motivated and pumped up and share great messages with you, but nothing is going to happen until you decide to take action. Because all of this is an inside job. It starts inside of you. It's what's in your heart. It's what's in your head. And it's connecting the two of them. Because when you get your heart and your head going in the same direction, man, there is no even way to think about how far you could go. I mean, it just excites me to think about the potential that you have when you make that change, when you start taking action and you start growing from the inside out. When you start making the necessary changes that you need to make to stretch yourself. And what do those changes look like? They look like turning off the TV and picking up a book and reading it. It looks like picking up the phone and calling that client or that prospect. It looks like preparing for that next lesson that you're going to teach, or preparing for that next concert that you're going to play for, or preparing for that next speech that you're going to give, whatever it is. That next sales presentation that you have to make requires you to stretch yourself and change so that you can do it better every day. Remember, it's not what you do in a day, it's what you do daily. And if you're not doing something different every day to take you in a positive direction, you will stagnate. Make the changes you need to make. Stretching sets us apart from others. As I said, few people want to change. Few people want to stretch. But when you start that stretching process, it sets you apart. It puts you on a level by yourself. Others will say, wow, what is he doing? I want to be a part of that. What is she doing? I want to be a part of that. It sets you apart. It makes you the one that people are attracted to. Take the steps. Do the things you know you need to do. Let it become a lifestyle change for you. Let it be part of your lifestyle that you do something every day to grow yourself. You know, every day. I talked about the grades, just putting 20% effort in. What if you just did 1% more every day for 365 days? Think about the difference it would make on your journey if you just stretched yourself a little bit every day. And if you can do 1%, you can do 2%. If you can do 2, you can do 3 or 5. You know, it's all in what we're willing to do to stretch ourselves from where we are today to where we want to be in the future. When we stretch, we give ourselves a shot at significance. And that's the journey I'm on. I'm on a journey to become significant. I'm already successful. I've reached the top of the mountain in my career and in my journey for my goals. But I want to be more than just successful. I want to be significant. And for me, significance is being on the plane to taking others to another level on their journeys, to help them climb that Mount Everest that they are facing to reach their next goal in life, to reach their next dream in life. You know, it's simple. It's simple when you think about it. But at the end of the day, it requires work, consistency, dedication, and a desire to be different than others. Stretch yourself. Stretch yourself beyond where you are today so that you can become your very, very best version. Now, I don't know about you, but I know that I could stop what I'm doing right now and I would be just fine. But as I said, that's not for me, because I have a desire to grow and become significant. I want to help 1,000 people. I want to help 5,000 or 10,000 people become their best versions. And the way I do that is through my coaching and training, through my webinars, and through my masterminds. And you're going to get another email in a couple of days where I'm going to introduce to you an opportunity to join a mastermind group. Hey, listen, you know, it's worth it. It is worth it for you to be involved with other people so you can get that input and perspective from others. And I promise you, it will make a huge difference in your journey. It's you know, you can go join mastermind groups and pay 500,000 and lots of money, but I'm not here to make money. I'm here to cover my expenses. And so just to cover my expenses, I want to invite you to join me. It's only $49, and I'll be sending you an information package on when that will be available and when we'll start that. But I would love to have you join me and be a part of that journey. And I'll probably do two. I'll probably do one in the afternoon and one in the morning, because I know some people don't have the same time frames, but we'll work that out. But I know that it can make a huge difference in your journey. And if you want to be the success that I think you want to be, then this will be valuable for you. So I hope the information I shared with you today was valuable. I look forward to sharing with you again real soon. Until then, thanks for joining me, and I look forward to chatting with you again in the very near future.